love you guys.
All right, so let's give them a taste of what we haven't started, what we're contemplating on doing.
Yeah.
Let's give them some psychic conspiracy, because we're going to do a show together. We're going to do a podcast or something. We're going to do some psychic conspiracy. We're working on it. It could be months down the road, y'all, but we are. But before we do that, I'm now kind of talking about parallel universes and all that. So since you are able to speak with people from the other side, that's a word I'm going to use. Can you say that we're all like here, we just can't see them? You know, in other words, like we're not operating on a level where our loved ones is just like my grandmother standing right here, just really like in my face. And I'm like, you know, I feel like something, but it's really, or my, you know, or dead, you know, a passed on cousin is just right here screaming at me like, yeah. And I just don't know it.
Well, I love the question. And so this is how I feel, guys. I'm also a skeptic. Like, I mean, I say that I'm not a skeptic with my work, but let's say I'm a reformed skeptic. Let's say that.
Okay.
And I also say that if anybody really speaks in like, this is the way it is, I also, you know, the more we know nothing. Right. Okay. And so when I'm going to answer this, I will often say, this is how it feels to me. And so, yes, our loved ones are with us, I believe, at all times within that breath of connection. And so while they might not be going, Roderick, what are you doing? In that, they're in the energy of the most beautiful peace and energy that you can imagine. And so you can feel them in different degrees of them. So talk about different timelines. We can feel our loved ones come through in the way it was that they were struggling here in this life. You can speak to them, connect with them. Even I had a client today whose father had passed 6 or 7 years ago, and she's still kind of riddled with anger and things like that that she's moving through. She is somebody who discovered a lot of things once her father passed. And so we can, as we're processing those kind of energies, we can deal with them in the way that they were here. So what I mean by that is we can still be frustrated with them. We can express that. We can speak to them the way that they were there. So they will call it lowering their energy to kind of be in that space and have their same feelings. They will hold accountability. You can move through that energy with them, but you can connect at the different degrees, levels, dimensions, call it whatever you want to call it. I don't really care about the verbiage actually, but you can connect with them in all the different levels of their healing through the different levels of your own healing. And so as you heal here, they do too. It's so cool. But yeah, I mean, we can connect to loved ones on the other side too. But to me, they are loved ones, call it heaven. I was raised Southern Baptist, so I still call that space heaven, or just that next plane, that next dimension. But it is just that. And we can all actually connect in that way. You and I have discussed that even in your own private session before. Our loved ones come around. They are with us.
All right. So what about, let's go conspiracy now.
Yeah.
The CIA, I was reading the documents, and we've been reading this document of, I'm going to read you this. It's a document that's out from the Monroe Institute that teaches people to do their out-of-body breathing and everything else, right? Right. So there's an affirmation that it has at the beginning of this thing that you're supposed, I'm going to read it to you, if it's okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And it goes that, you're supposed to say this affirmation: I am more than my physical body, because I'm more than physical matter, and I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world. Therefore, in this exercise, I deeply desire to expand, experience, to know, to understand, to control, the use such greater energies and energy systems that it may be beneficial and constructive to me and those who follow me. And also during this exercise, I deeply desire to help cooperation, assistance, and the understanding from those individuals whose wisdom, development, experience is equal or greater than my own, and I ask their guidance for protection and influence of any source that may provide me with less than my stated desires. And I now protect myself as I may need from the influence. And then it has one other part, says, I open this channel of communication only to those whose knowledge, wisdom, development, experiences equal or greater, and I restrict such contact and communication to constructive purpose and reject all other, and I open this channel only when I consciously desire at all other times, and other times it remain closed. How is that opening up our psychic ability? Do we all have the power to do that? I mean, you have a gift, but why would a person say, okay, I'm more than my physical body? I'm not saying, and I read this and I study it, but why would the CIA play with this? And why would they teach this to their operatives?
Well, first of all, I believe, and I would say I know, we all, again, yes, have this gift and ability. When we are attuned to the frequency of the one, and when we are attuned to the frequency within, all of our full potential, we're very beautiful and powerful connectors and beings. What you just read, yes, is something that one can use to connect for sure. I believe too, so I do think it's important to make sure that we are healthy. What I mean by that is to the level that we will connect is to the level that we have healed as well. So if we've got lots of trauma, pain, that's why even, if you're listening to Forbidden Knowledge, right? You've got Elizabeth talking about all of the different healing modalities. You got, I've done many of those things, and am also always in a state of healing and processing my crap. We all have it in this human form. And so as we're willing to dive in deep to those things that most people don't want to feel, as we feel those things, we become brighter lights here on this planet where we can connect to a higher realm. And so what you just read is, yes, a way of connecting for sure. I have my own way of calling on the guides and angels and connecting, but that's come through time. So somebody just said they have manufactured psychics. We have the real deal. Dr. Strange, you're so sweet. I always love seeing you on here on my podcast, on Roderick's, everything.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we appreciate you, right? But listen, when we heal and we find our way, literally like psychic or a mediumship or anything like that is simply a symptom of connecting to the light. So the government knows this. This is why we're
Okay.
not, they know this. And so when we connect to that light, we are one with source. If you knew that, if Roxy, if English teacher Leon, if Jessica, if everybody was really owning that, we would not be in the state that we are in this world, right? We would all be, there would be no war, there would be no fear, there would be no any of that. And so they teach these agents to embody some of these things to, yes, gain information for themselves and to use it. Very often they're not using it for the betterment of society.
Yeah, and it makes sense because, all right, so how do you equate this to the term remote viewing as opposed to communications? Because, and let me just throw this into the thing. There were agents that were doing remote viewing,
yes,
but yet they were going into places where people were unalived already.
Yeah.
But was able to speak with these unalive folks to find where they had crashed.
Yeah.
And it's like, but they didn't tell them, like, by the way, you're not really here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm coming, but we're not really coming. We just need to get the flight. I don't know. That's the humor side, but it's like, what are we hearing here? You know what I mean?
So the remote viewing, I remember when I realized, like, oh my goodness, that's what I'm doing. So very often in a session, when I'm connecting to a client's energy, I'm seeing either the things that, their loved ones were moving through, or even what their guides and angels are showing me. And sometimes it's what it is that the client that I'm connecting to is looking to. So, or looking at. So very often this happens in a virtual session. I've got clients from all over the world. And when we're in session, sometimes what is in their space, like I can't see it, it's like what's in front of them comes through. And what that is there's, when we connect, there's a sense of sometimes that remote viewing. And so we can get very bogged down sometimes by all of these different definitions, but we can also set the intention of wanting to attune to a certain moment in time, to attune to a certain crash, a certain experience, and yes, connect to the energy of that space. We can remote view, walk in, see what those people were experiencing it or how they were experiencing it, almost as if it's like a movie being played back. And so they were definitely training agents. You've done the research to do this, and they've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, it's like your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. Listen, they're after our minds. For music, you have to protect your mind. You must get your copy, The Book of Sacred Secrets. It's a downloadable copy. It's a life study manual. Every little section, it is all in here for the Book of Sacred Secrets. You got to get it. Protect your mind. Then we have the Book of Hidden Truths. You want to get your copy of this. You're going to learn about the hidden truth, from symbolism to religion. Everything is in here as well. You got to code your water. I'm using hydrogen water, and I code my water because why? Water can be coded. This is why we have liquid death out there. You shouldn't be drinking it. Go to the website. The link is right here in the description. Get your copy, protect your mind. Teach this to your children. Teach this to your friends. Your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. Listen, they're after our minds. We think that we're going to walk outside and see Agent 009 sitting across with his binoculars.
Yeah.
But actually, Agent 0010 is sitting in a room with his lights off, watching me. You get what I'm saying? In here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's why, it feels, listen, there are some experiences that I had an experience when I was young. I think you and I have spoken about it. I know I've spoken about it on my podcast and on Billy's, but I had an experience when I was a little girl. And, there are moments where maybe you have felt watched throughout your lifetime.
Listen, I'm writing this down right now about discussing that next. But go ahead. Yeah, we on the same point.
Here we are. And my experience, I have clients all the time who are so excited and ecstatic about the experiences they've had, whether it was, an extraterrestrial type experience, some sort of like abduction or anything like that. I can tell you that the experience that I had was not something that I've only literally been comfortable talking about in the last literally 2 years. I've been doing this work for 20 years, but because it felt so, it didn't feel good, and so have they been tuning into people for many, many years, for a lifetime? Have they known of certain gifts and abilities in certain people? Yeah, I think for sure. Have children been put in gifted programs to be able to watch and for them to keep track? Yeah, I think so. It's pretty crazy.
See, that goes back to, now will take us in the middle of not conspiracy, but religiously now, where, we tend to
keep talking. I've got to let my dog in.
All right. So we tend to think that somebody, how kids are told Santa Claus is watching you to be good or bad, or God is always watching us. And so we all have this self-governing program running, so to speak, where I better not do that. Even ain't nobody in this room. And I'm going to bite that apple, but I feel convicted not to bite the apple because God is watching me or somebody's watching me. Is it maybe somebody's remote viewing you, like the movie Deja Vu, and you can feel, remember in the movie, the lady felt that they were watching her.
Mhm.
And she was like, hello? And how many of us have gotten that feeling, right? And you're just like, okay. And then you either done something you didn't want to do, or you've done some things, or is there any secrets anymore? Do I not have a secret? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. And having said that feeling, could there be just people and things that are just right now walking around, or maybe we're just not in that vibration and we move over into those timelines or whatever, and now we're just either not so much trapped there, but it's just another reality. It's like, let me just move over there.
We got your favorite puppy, Roderick, right here.
There he is. There he is.
Oh, I'm like, we're on Roderick's podcast, so we can bring you on tonight. Listen.
Yeah.
Now, see, my protective bubble, there are many people that think that the connection's really cool and amazing. And I think there's some, just like there's good energy, spiritually, there's not so good energy, and extraterrestrial wise and all of that as well. And so I think that as far as the remote viewing or people being able to kind of be witnessing what's going on within our homes, our lives, all of it, that protective bubble, I believe, shields me. We have to know, like we know,
Yeah.
without a shadow of a doubt, that we are protected in the light. And when I'm protected, there's nothing getting in. And listen, I just have to believe it, know it. That's how it is. And so I think that you've got to come from a place that you're the boss, and that's the way it is. Now, I saw somebody earlier say, let me see here. Speaking of, let's see here, where was it? They said, so these beings are not our friends. They take us at will without our consent. They paralyze you and do examinations and insert probes and devices in you. Please don't be fooled, mostly at AM hours. So what that person said was very similar to my experiences, how I had. Have we talked about this, Roderick?
No, let's go. You want to talk about it? You want to talk about it?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it's a session. I mean, I can act as I'm you, and then we can do a session.
You can just tell me all about it. Thank you, Roderick.
Yeah.
And so it was a story that I didn't share with anybody. My twin sister was there, my mother, my father was out of town, and I was sleeping on my dad's side of the bed. And he was out of town again working. We'd had anybody eat butter and crackers. So we'd had like saltines, had the butter knife, and we had been eating it in bed. And I had that on the nightstand. I woke up, but had sleep like paralysis. I couldn't move and was paralyzed. But I saw this entity, and he walked. I used to call him this little glowing green midget, is what I just, excuse my language, but that's how in my little girl mind I was. I think younger than my 9-year-old. I can't remember exactly my age, but I was young. And this energy looked at me the whole entire time. And I've always said he, but whatever this was, walked so slowly down the side of my mother's bed. She never woke. My twin sister was in the middle. She never woke up. I wasn't able to scream. Which was like my eyebrows were up. I was like startled. I was freaking out, but still could not move. And this energy floated. I mean, it just was gliding across the floor ever so slowly, all the way down to the edge of that bed, coming up. And all I remembered at that point was he grabbed the knife and he stabbed me in the leg. And all of a sudden, as soon as he touched that knife to my knee, it was right under my knee, I fell to the floor and I was able to scream. He was gone immediately. My mother woke up because she was hearing me scream, my twin sister, and I was bleeding. And so she picked me up, took me to the bathroom, and they were like, oh, you had a bad dream. That, they were just, trying to, whatever. My twin sister made fun of me my entire life. And it was one of those where I don't, like, every time she'd try it, like, don't stop, like, don't do that. and every time I spoke about it, I almost couldn't talk about it, even up to probably the last year and a half, without being really emotionally affected by it. But it
Wow.
scared the hell out of me. But there was a documentary that came out, and I've studied this stuff my entire life. There was a psychologist who's passed now. He was from like the New York City area, or like up over there somewhere. And he did a lot of hypnotizing people who had, experiences with abductions or close encounters, things like that. And I would listen to this, and I was fascinated, because I thought, I was just so curious what in the world this was, right? Although I think I felt like I knew what it was. Now, it was during COVID or right before COVID, during COVID, that there was a documentary that came out. I think, Roderick, I swear we've talked about this, but it was called Patient 17. Patient
No,
17.
we
Have
haven't.
you seen it? Yeah. And it was, I can't remember his name, Jeremy something. He's been on Joe Rogan quite a bit, but I had never heard of him from this point. But he was a documentary maker, producer, and this guy had this experience. And the way this man shares, the way you see the energy in his face, this isn't funny to him. It's not exciting to him. This was a traumatic. Jeremy Corbell, thank you. Thank you, in Walters. That's right. This was traumatizing. This man, that same energy was exactly how I felt. And in that show, he had a very similar story. It sounded just very similar to mine. And they started to check his leg. He kept feeling like something was underneath his knee. And when they showed the place that this object, he had an implant, and in his leg, the place that he showed the object was exactly where my cut was. And I saw that and was like, what the you know what? And so that has been a subject that, yes, I do what I do. Yes, I connect. Yes, I help people actually with that. But my own experience, it was traumatizing, and is traumatizing. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think it would be, again, like you say, it's traumatizing, and hearing those stories, and they all are similar. People are not just making this stuff up, right?
No.
And coincidence, we want to say on a spiritual note, is God's way of being anonymous. At least I think so.
Yeah.
When we want to go there with the government, why, like you said, they want to keep the power from us, to do this. But what other harm that could be done, that if they're able to get into our consciousness or tap into this other world, what could they be doing that we don't know is happening?
Yeah. Well, and was that a government? Is that a government something posing as something different? That's the thing. Is it definitely felt dark. It did not feel like, oh, warm and fuzzy like some people experience. It didn't leave me curious. It left me not speaking about it for, hello, I've been doing this work that I do for 20 years. I've only shared that story in the last maybe 2. And so it's something that I don't, it's a startling thing. And so we can feel, many people, and you talk about this, you share this with, you get lots of calls where people have had their different stories, and they're afraid to come out because of them. And that I understand. And I was even doing this work. And so it definitely doesn't feel all exciting to have had the experience, had an experience like this. But the government does know about it. They have been, I think, trying to create their own bases. Of course, they've done that, and their own team of intuitive psychics, whatever you want to call it. They're still, the more we know nothing. So they're diving into all of it.
So I watch enough TV, and I guess I'm just now getting answers that I've always. What's an oracle?
So I have a couple of clients that actually call me an oracle, which
Okay.
and so an oracle is one that is, I would say, that is all knowing. I don't call myself that, but I've had people refer to me as that. An oracle is one that, to me, kind of you can go to, and they essentially have direct connection to all, and so that's the way I see the definition of an oracle. Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just asked. I was thinking of well, I forget which movie, but anyway,
I know. So that movie, The
yeah,
Matrix.
not the Matrix. Well,
Oh,
that one too,
okay.
but this one was when when Zeus was coming down visiting the young dude, watching him
Mhm.
grow into a warrior, but Zeus will fake like he was an old man, just teaching him, but he really was getting him to
Like
fight
wisdom.
or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. So it's just one of those things. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So a little more conspiracy now. Let's go there.
Yeah. Let's do it.
We have this thing. So now we have religion. We have the Pope, and I'm just using the Vatican and all of their secrets. We have the government in that secrets. Now, like I said, you were able to feel and sense these other. I guess would I use the word apparition? That's not what I would say, right? No.
I mean, an apparition, I can't speak, is, when an energy forms and takes shape.
Okay.
So, I mean, sometimes they can use their energy to come to you as an apparition.
Okay. So when we think about all of this, and again, but it's all I'm starting to study that is all leading back to reptilians. Your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. Listen, they're after our minds. From music, you have to protect your mind. You must get your copy, The Book of Sacred Secrets. It's a downloadable copy. It's a life study manual. Every little section, it is all in here for the Book of Sacred Secrets. You got to get it. Protect your mind. Then we have the Book of Hidden Truths. You want to get your copy of this. You're going to learn about the hidden truth from symbolism to religion. Everything is in here as well. You got to code your water. I'm using hydrogen water, and I code my water because why? Water can be coded. This is why we have liquid death out there. You shouldn't be drinking it. Go to the website. The link is right here in the description. Get your copy. Protect your mind. Teach this to your children. Teach this to your friends. Your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. Listen, they're after our minds. You ever seen any? And not have you seen any, but have you tapped into something and something says, you don't belong here. Get out.
I have not been well, you know what? The only time, no, and that's a whole nother topic. So I'm not going to even open that door with the two of us, right? I've been like, nope, skirt, where it's like, that's done. That's a whole nother podcast.
Okay, gotcha.
But as far as reptilian, I've literally been following this topic for, 25 years. I'm 47 now. I definitely feel like it's so interesting, the different blood types. Do I think that there's a reptilian race kind of running the show? I kind of think so, maybe. And so,
I think we both were fans of David Icke. He says that is just what's going on.
It's just what's going on. That's correct. And we're not told a lot because they really don't believe that we can handle it, right?
Right.
And so if they showed us their form, would everything collapse? Yeah, and they're making too much money on it. So that's why they don't allow themselves to be seen very often. Who's the guy? There's the guy off of Smashing Pumpkins. I can't remember his name. The lead singer. Have you heard this?
Smashing Pumpkins? Do they rap? Because they don't rap. I don't know.
No, the 90s band, Roderick. What in the
Smashing Pump. Who would name their
What?
band Smashing Pumpkins anyway?
Okay,
Not in my
everybody.
neighborhood, not where I grew up at.
Okay, well, maybe not in your neighborhood, but in 1994, just kidding. So everybody give me, I mean, hands up. You've heard of Smashing Pumpkins. Now, come on.
You're going to be the only
So
one. I guarantee you, unless somebody just
that's
trying to
not
get,
true.
unless they're
I
just
know
trying to
you
get
don't.
some attention, they're going to say, yeah, but.
That's not true. Northern Downpour. I know you know who's. Yeah, Billy Corgan. See, Tina. Thank you, Tina.
Okay.
That's hilarious. So he had an experience with. It was a woman. I believe the story was that it was a
Okay.
woman. I think he was sharing this on Howard Stern or something like that. He was sharing this experience where, it was a reptilian who. This woman shapeshifted right in front of him, and it freaked him out. And so very often, many of these reptilian races, they're in very high places of high status, right? Whether that's celebrity or it's, Hollywood, it is government, it is in all of these different places. It's in religion, actually,
See,
too.
I said that before you came on. I was telling the audience, I said, if they were, what alien or reptilian who can shapeshift would want to go be the bum under the street? It just makes sense that they will come and be famous so you can live the life of the high society, or whatever they're trying to become.
Think of the movie that they're pushing again. Have you? Maybe you haven't seen it, but Death Becomes Her with Meryl Streep, and the original had Meryl Streep, and it had Goldie Hawn in it. Roger, go watch that. That's your homework. That's everybody's homework. But go watch Goldie Hawn. Back in the day, this is an old movie. Anderson and I just watched it last week, and they're doing a remake of it. And I think her Goldie's daughter is going to be in it. But that's telling a story. It's telling a story. And if you watch this, guys, these things they put in plain sight for us. They do. They show us what they're doing, and technically, I think that they have to, right? That's kind of part of their shtick, is they have to put it out there. That's why they speak through symbols, and music, even, right?
Right. Well, yeah, music, yeah.
Music. If you watch that, they're changing form. They're taking. If you watch the movie, I don't even want to say what it is because we'll get.
Ethan says the Shalites. I had a guy. I don't know, Ethan, you might want to go back and look at one of my older videos. I had this guy named Darren. He was the son of one of the main Shalites, and he talks about reptilians. He talks about his family, the Jackson 5, and how they was eating rats. I did a live interview. It's on the channel.
Roderick, we need to pause, and I need you to run through those comments so you can see how many people know who Smashing Pumpkins are.
Smashing Pumpkins. Let me see.
Looky there. Everybody's like, yep, yes, yes.
Courtney, but there's one X
Damon
Factor.
knows who they are.
Damon
Dr. Strange, I love that band. RN Diva says, yes, I know. See?
Well, see.
Haha.
Strange Pumpkins. Who would name? Who would walk
Smashing Pumpkins.
Who would say, where are we going tonight? We're going to go listen to Smashing Pumpkins. Yeah.
Do you remember the movie Breakin'? It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, but that was on the tail end of everything. Breakdancing and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But that was it. But I do remember the movie Poltergeist. How real was that?
So that movie scared the what about me. If you want to get into conspiracy, we should talk about that movie and what happened to Carrie and that little girl.
She died for real, right?
Well, she did die for real, but do you know the story behind her death? Roger,
let's go with
episode. No, that's a whole episode because I need to give you names and all of that. But we need to write that down, and that's a whole entire episode because we can go all day on that one.
Poltergeist, right?
But Poltergeist. But that movie, I believe it was actually based on a true story. So I used to ghost hunt, right? You know that I used to.
Did you mentioned that, but you never told me about finding any ghosts. But
oh yeah. Well, I've lived, all of the houses I ever lived in always felt as though they were haunted, but it wasn't because necessarily that they were. One of them I know for sure was, but it was more so that they could see that I was connected. And so I felt it all. And so I've known that as a healed adult. Now I walk around protected, so I don't connect to that lower grade energy any longer. And so, so you can have a choice in that, by the way, my friends. I don't do that anymore because you can invite things into your home. You can't, if
Yeah.
you leave it open. And if you have children, my oldest, she's now 27, but she was, it was 20 something years ago. And once I realized, okay, again, the more we know nothing. Not cool. It's just not something I would really encourage.
Right.
Sometimes look at the lives of some of the people that really are doing a lot of that work. They age more quickly. You can tell the energy that they're connecting to. It's not always good. So I just personally don't really encourage it. But that movie was 100% real. Were there things that they, you know, inflamed? For sure, but that I do believe it.
See, that's just kind of like, and as we talked about earlier, Hollywood, they just don't make this stuff up, when we talk about life on the other side. But the other part that baffled me the most, and this is the psychic side, and we'll go back to the conspiracy side, is why is it that someone today that is 70 years old said that they had a dream and they saw their sister who left this place at 6, and they didn't see their sister with gray hair like they was. They still saw a 6-year-old. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what, time doesn't move, or in wearing set of clothes or time, but yet, so how do they know they wasn't just having a nightmare or a dream, or was it true? You get what I'm saying?
I do. I know. I believe that's a really great place to collect that data. Like, I believe that that's a great starting spot where, many of us have had those dreams, those premonitions. We feel like it might be something, but yet we want proof. And I'm all about wanting proof and to at least learn how to validate my own knowing. And so I don't think we should always jump on the hunch that, oh my gosh, I think this is it, and go into the drama of the connection, by the way. Um, but I think that in time, if you really start to validate your own knowing by asking yourself first, am I making this up? Like, am I crazy? I've always asked myself first.
Right.
If you start to document it and you write down even the Cliff Note version of these experiences, you're going to take the drama out of it and you're just writing down the facts. And in time, you're going to be able to start to feel what truth feels like in your body. You're going to start to feel like, how does this feel to me? You're going to be your own filter, your own barometer, but it takes being healthy and not, oh my gosh, this is it. I'm not a psychic that's going to get you into the drama of things. I don't think that's always healthy. We want to look at it with, like, we want to try to debunk any of it. And I think that that's actually what makes me good, is because we want to know, like we know that we're truly connected. As far as like having dreams in the later part of our life or any part, and we have that loved one come to us, I always believe I believe that's their essence. And I think the reason they show themselves to you, if she showed her older self to, say, the grandmother or whomever it was that you were just talking about,
Right.
she didn't really know her in that time. So she knew her at that younger age. It doesn't mean that that person on the other side stays that age, but they will come to visit in the form that you would have recognized them in, or in their happiest form. I'll see you later.
All right, bye-bye. All right, y'all, that was the greatness of my sister Courtney there. And, we talk all the time, every day just about. And, but it is just so wonderful, because sometimes she'll just pause and say, hey, I got something I want to share with you. And, just give me some insight of life. And then, of course, I discuss things with her, and we built over the years. And she's as real as it get, not just as a person and an individual, but if you want someone to really, truly guide you through some of these areas, reach out to her. Because she does reading. She does, not just normal stuff. I mean, she'll paint. You would get a painting of your loved ones that's watching over you, and the color is just the experience is so unique. that the confirmation of what she says and does is just really, truly a lovable thing. And I will tell people to do it. And definitely y'all need to check out her membership, $11.11. But having an advisor, okay, such as her in your repertoire of life, from business, personal, and why not access the cosmos to this life that we have. And if there's gifted people like her out there, I just think it's a beautiful thing. So I love her to death, and I will put her side by side among the Miss Cleos of the world, 1-900, I'm Inga, to whoever that she stands to be the realest one that I've ever known. And I've met many too, right? I'm not saying other ones are not gifted. Your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. Listen, they're after our minds. For music, you have to protect your mind. You must get your copy, the Book of Sacred Secrets. It's a downloadable copy. It's a life study manual. Every little section, it is all in here for the Book of Sacred Secrets. You got to get it. Protect your mind. Then we have the Book of Hidden Truths. You want to get your copy of this. You're going to learn about the hidden truth, from symbolism to religion. Everything is in here as well. You got to code your water. I'm using hydrogen water, and I code my water because why? Water can be coded. This is why we have liquid death out there. You shouldn't be drinking it. Go to the website. The link is right here in the description. Get your copy. Protect your mind. Teach this to your children. Teach this to your friends. Your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. Listen, they're after our minds.